Effective. His learning method is very effective for the beginners. This law will become effective next month.
Communication.
Means of communication. We can get lots of information through means of communication.
Communication is important at this company.
Dialect.
It was difficult to understand the local dialect.
Fluency.
Example, I have achieved certain fluency in German.
Hesitation.
Barrier.
Language barrier. They got married despite the language barrier.
The car crashed into the safety barrier and burst into flames.
Linguist.
Tim did a 3-year course in linguistics at Newcastle.
Language. Speak a language. It's not easy to learn to speak a language well. Language barrier. They got married despite the language barrier.
Mother tongue. Sign language.
Deaf people use their own sign language.
Incoherent.
An incoherent policy. Example, an incoherent policy.
Pronunciation.
Your pronunciation can be improved within 1 month.
We should use the international pronunciation.
Vocabulary.
The word failure is not in his vocabulary. Example, the word give up is never in my vocabulary.
Grammar.
We begin to study grammar. Each exercise focuses on a different grammar point.
Spontaneous.
A spontaneous offer of help. Example, the teacher has received sincere, spontaneous reaction from students who recognize her.
Comprehend.
It was impossible to comprehend the full scale of the disaster. Example, I can't comprehend the meanings of modern art.
Tip. It is customary to tip waiters in this country.
Example, there are a lot of tips and strategies on how to be successful in this field.
Foreign. I have a foreign classmate. He is French. Knowing 2 or more foreign languages is one of the requirements for this position.
Sing.
She is different from other singers, since she doesn't want to become famous. She just loves singing and writing songs.
You have a great voice. I think you will soon become a famous singer.
Soft.
Don't worry. This software is really easy to use.
Soft feather pillows. My mother has just bought us soft feather pillows.
Effective.
Conclude.
After long discussions, the board has concluded that the project has to be cancelled. The report concluded that the cheapest option was to close the laboratory.
Converse.
You can add the fluid to the powder, or, conversely, the powder to the fluid. Example, she conversed with the Romanians in French.
Emerge.
An emergency operation. The doctor couldn't come to see you because he had to perform an emergency operation last night.
An emergency operation. A half dozen of doctors are carrying out an emergency operation at the moment.
Evolve.
Over the years, St. Peter has evolved into a stock character that is now widely used in jokes, cartoons, comedies, dramas, and plays.
The idea evolved from a drawing I discovered in the attic.
Explain. Could you please explain that again? I want you to explain what you did.
Express.
Please let me know if you thought I expressed a strong point.
Express concern. The president, in his speech, expressed concern about the high unemployment rate.
Illustrate.
His lecture was illustrated with photos taken during the expedition. Example: the results illustrate how important it is to wear your seatbelt.
Imply.
The guarantee on the Walkman implied that all damages were covered under warranty for 1 year. It was implied that we were at fault.
Stutter.
Example: W. Waddy stuttered.
Needless to say, I
Translate.
Help me translate these documents from English to Vietnamese, please.
Can you translate that to Vietnamese?
Reading.
I learned a new word from the reading.
I'm reading a book written by Robert Kiyosaki.
Writing.
She is different from other singers, since she doesn't want to become famous. She just loves singing and writing songs.
He started writing at the age of 16.
Dictionary. You can find definitions in the dictionary. Can you pass me the dictionary?
Learner.
Teachers aim to help children become autonomous learners.
Meaning.
The same meaning. Could you tell me another word with the same meaning as this one?
Do you know the meaning of the word sacrifice?
Textbook.
Newspaper.
Lay the newspapers. Lay the newspapers on the floor to protect it before you paint the walls.
My father often reads the newspaper for international affairs.
Magazine.
Fashion magazine. My sister is the chief editor of a famous fashion magazine. The new issue of my favorite magazine is about to be released.
Music. Kind of music. What is your favorite kind of music? Classical music. My parents prefer listening to classical music.
Accommodation.
My parents decided to splurge on deluxe accommodations for their trip. Example: I am not wealthy enough to afford first-class accommodation.
Countryside.
The air in the countryside feels much more pure.
Billy grew up in the countryside.
Ecotourism.
Facility.
I enjoyed the private facilities in my hotel room. The hotel has special facilities for welcoming disabled people.
Identification.
They label the products for easy identification.
Inhabitant.
The inhabitants have to walk a mile to fetch water. Example: I talked to the local inhabitants to know things around here.
Itinerary.
A detailed itinerary. Example: a detailed itinerary.
Landscape.
An aesthetic appreciation of the landscape. Landscape of singular beauty.
Luggage.
Their luggage. When they got to the hotel, they unpacked their luggage. Heavy luggage. She is struggling with her heavy luggage at the train station.
Peak.
Membership of the club has fallen from a peak of 600 people in 2006. Example: I was at the peak of my career when I was 28.
Tourism.
Adventure. Let's go on an adventure. Adventure movies are my favorite.
Driver.
There was congestion on this street from the strike by bus drivers. The taxi drivers were holding name signs at the airport.
Snack.
The stall sells drinks and snacks.
Example: if you eat a small snack 2 to 3 hours before a meal, it should not spoil your appetite and can help you avoid overeating at the next meal.
Occupancy. Living in this lodging house without a temporary certificate of occupancy is illegal.
Bank. His company is on the edge of bankruptcy.
We should take action as soon as possible to save the company from bankruptcy.
Holiday.
Have a nice holiday. They will have a nice holiday next week. Next week, we intend to go outside the city for the holiday.
Chart.
My grandpa, a farmer, did a weather chart for growing crops for the coming year. Write answers on a flip chart or have a recorder keep notes for later reference.
Boundary. You lose the game if you cross the boundary of the field. Lisa wandered outside the boundary. Airport. Security checks at the airport are compulsory for every passenger.
Although he was sick, he still came to see me at the airport.
Accommodation.
So, you want to learn a foreign language, but you're
Village. A small village. Mary was born in a small village on the hill. A fishing village. We are going to visit a fishing village this weekend.
Adventurous.
Budget.
I think we need to make changes in the tax rate in order to reduce the budget deficit.
I try to stay within my budget each month.
Coastal.
The pear is native to coastal and mildly temperate regions.
Cosmopolitan.
A cosmopolitan city resort.
Luxurious.
Their living room looks very luxurious.
This luxurious living room is a typical example of his wealth.
Mountainous.
Goats live in mountainous areas.
Picturesque.
Quaint.
Example, quaint old customs.
Rough. Here are some home remedies to deal with dry and rough skin. The only road to the town is rough and narrow.
Unspoilt.
Urban.
Semi-detached houses are easy to be seen in urban areas.
Urban poverty is on the increase.
Fluctuate.
No one is very comfortable making a large investment while the currency values fluctuate almost daily.
Summer. Summer holiday. Where will you spend your summer holiday? Next summer, she will go to France to do further studies next summer.
Famous. Famous band. They are a famous band. A famous actress. Her dream is to become a famous actress.
Activity. Students often like to do a small activity to warm up before the lesson. Physical activity can help you to strengthen your muscles.
Genuine.
Is the painting a genuine Picasso? Example, he listens well and has genuine concern for the opinions of others.
World.
Around the world. He wishes to travel around the world.
Water pollution is a topic of concern all over the world.
Beach.
There is an old castle near the beach.
Let's relax on the beach. Bay. Let's watch the fireworks at the bay. There are many ships in the bay.
Century. 21st century. He was the most famous person living in the 21st century.
The best song of the 20th century is Yesterday.
Decade.
A lot of medical advances have been researched and applied over the last decade.
Each decade seems to have its own fad products.
Era.
She also had 2 notebooks for writing in, a case of pencils, a pencil sharpener, and some erasers. Correction fluid is a highly effective tool used to correct mistakes by using a brush and carefully erasing your mistakes.
Excavation.
Example: an excavation at the historic burial site will help shed light on life in London from the 16th to 18th century.
Generation. The young generation should be taught about the history of the country. That generation is so different from us.
The Middle Ages.
Millennium.
Ancient. Vietnam has an ancient history with an old traditional culture. This precious ancient vase has been kept in the family for many generations.
Consecutive.
She was absent for 9 consecutive days.
Historical. To deal with this old case, we must place it in its historical context. The pagoda is a part of the nation's precious historical heritage.
Imminent.
The imminent threat of invasion. Example: an asset manager for the owners had notified them that they were in imminent danger of defaulting on the original $20 million loan.
Middle-aged.
Date. What is the date today? We need to fix a date for the meeting.
Calendar.
Careful.
Be careful, or you will fall into the lake.
Should read carefully. You should read the instructions carefully before starting.
Hour.
Half an hour. I waited for half an hour to get the tickets. Rush hour. You should go before rush hour, or you'll be stuck in traffic jams.
Night. At night. My father has to work at night. Opening night. This is the opening night of the concert.
Minute.
Could you help me hold this box for a few minutes?
Wait a minute.
Weekend.
I think it's a good idea to have a small party this weekend.
I think it's unreasonable to order the employees to work on weekends.
Accident.
I hurt my head in the accident.
He hurt his head and body in the accident.
Nostalgic.
Nostalgic memories.
Prior.
Education is currently a priority for developing the country.
She will be unable to attend because of a prior engagement.
Punctual.
Please be on time. The train leaves punctually at noon. Example: I like candidates who are punctual for interviews.
Time-consuming.
5 interviews later, Ms. Lopez had the job, but it was the most time-consuming process she had ever gone through.
Erode.
The cliff face has been steadily eroded by the sea. Example: the cliff face has been steadily eroded by the sea.
In time.
If the firefighters had not been on the scene in time, the house would have burned down.
You were lucky that you spotted the danger in time.
Lose track of.
Subsequently.
The monk was subsequently venerated as a saint.
Happen. Do not keep complaining about what happened.
The accident happened a long time ago.
Greek. I love Greek food. The Greek flag is blue and white.
Visit.
Whenever she has time, she visits us.
He returns to Vietnam every year to visit his parents.
Computer.
This computer. This computer belongs to Julie. This computer doesn't work. We need to buy another one.
Ditch. The car crashed into a ditch. There was a large ditch on the side of the road.
1,000. 1,000 protesters. There are 1,000 protesters gathering on the square. $1,000 car. This is $1,000 car.
100. My hometown is 100 kilometers away from here. That firm has 300 workers.
Wooden.
Wooden table. This wooden table is too expensive for us to buy.
She said hello to me with a wooden smile. Cave. Phom Nha Cave is a destination worth visiting in Quang Binh. This cave is famous for its spectacular size.
Future. Future jobs. Have you thought of any future jobs? The future. We must make a plan for the future.
Year. Last year. They moved to London last year. Every year. He returns to Vietnam every year to visit his parents. Month.
He has been out of work for months. I haven't seen her since the party last month.
Agriculture.
The hammer and sickle symbolizes the unity between industrial and agricultural workers.
Example. He said the state also must be wary of the cumulative impact of allowing non-farm uses on agriculture land.
The animal kingdom.
Climate.
Have you noticed the gradual change in climate recently? Of all of the issues, I think climate change is the most important.
Disaster.
The country has suffered from so many natural disasters.
A special fund was created to help the people after the disaster.
Mother Nature.
Pesticide.
The crops are regularly sprayed with pesticides. The crops are regularly sprayed with pesticide.
Predator. Prey.
We saw the eagle swoop from the sky to catch its prey.
Politician is just a demagogue who preys upon people's fears and prejudices.
Scent.
Example. I love the scents of these flowers.
Species.
Many different species are living in this tropical forest.
The male of the species has decreased significantly.
Vegetation.
Example. Subtropical vegetation.
Vermin.
Weed. Arid. Catastrophe.
Domesticated. Endangered.
Rhinoceroses are among the top 10 most endangered animals in the world.
Example. The health of our children is being endangered by exhaust fumes.
Genetically modified.
Resistant.
Vulnerable.
To be vulnerable to attack. Gorilla infants are vulnerable and dependent, and thus mothers, their primary caregivers, are important to their survival.
Cultivate. The youth are trying to cultivate the mind as soon as possible. They use this land to cultivate illegally.
Hibernate. Flora.
Fauna.
Flower.
There are many flowers in the teacher's room today.
There is a vase of flowers by the window.
Fruit.
There are a variety of fruit trees in his garden.
Fresh fruits and vegetables. My mother often goes to the market in the early morning to buy fresh fruits and vegetables.
Trunk. That is the biggest tree trunk I've ever seen. Is it safe to leave luggage in the trunk?
Feather. Soft feather pillows. My mother has just bought us soft feather pillows. What type of bird makes this color feather?
Root.
Money is said to be the root of all evil.
Flour is made from cassava root.
Claw.
Thorn. Petal.
Beak.
The gull held the fish in its beak. The male bird has a red spot on its beak.
Horn.
Rhino horn is very valuable.
Skin. There is a red spot on this animal's skin. My skin gets so dry during the winter.
Tulip.
Humid.
Example, these ferns will grow best in a humid atmosphere. Example, instruments constantly monitor temperature and humidity.
Tropical.
Tropical forest. Many different species are living in this tropical forest.
Malaysia enjoys tropical climate.
Pet.
Both Mary and Peter. Both Mary and Peter signed up for the business course this semester.
Our children raised our pet at home.
Rodent.
Mouse is a small rodent that typically has a pointed snout, relatively large ears and eyes, and a long tail.
Asteroid.
Example, NASA has narrowed the list of candidates down to 3 space rocks for an ambitious mission to capture an asteroid and tow it to the moon.
Astronaut.
Atmosphere.
Let's think of a room with charged atmosphere. A meteorologist is a scientist who studies the Earth's atmosphere and its changes to forecast the weather.
Cosmos.
Crater.
Debris.
Emergency teams are still clearing the debris from the plane crash.
Earth. Oceans cover approximately 71% of the Earth's surface. The Earth revolves around the Sun.
Exploration.
They've just discussed about mineral exploration. This voyage marked an important milestone in the history of exploration.
Galaxy.
Gas. Gas explosion. A big gas explosion killed dozens of people in the town. Gas station. Where is the nearest gas station?
Gravity.
An apple fell on Isaac Newton's head, and he suddenly thought of the universal laws of gravity.
I don't think you realize the gravity of the situation.
Horizon.
The map includes horizontal and vertical lines. The horizontal line on the graph shows different years.
Meteor.
Martian meteorite yields more evidence of the possibility of life on Mars.
Moon.
They work by the light of the moon.
The Moon Embraces the Sun is my favorite film.
Ocean.
The biggest ships in the ocean are aircraft carriers.
These mysterious creatures live at the bottom of the ocean.
Rocket.
Example, Sales rocketed from 1,000 units last week to 5,000 units this week.
Lunar.
Lunar New Year is the most important festival for Vietnamese people.
Orbit.
Outer space.
Strange creatures from outer space. Respect for all living creatures. The dormouse is a shy, nocturnal creature.
Planet.
Does life exist on other planets?
That's a lifeless planet.
Satellite.
Simulator.
Solar system.
Surface. The water is so clean that we can see the fish beneath its surface. You should drive slowly on this road because it has an uneven surface.
Weightlessness.
Inevitable.
A rise in the interest rate seems inevitable. The world will witness an inevitable change in oil price.
Toxic.
These toxic chemicals are threatening human life.
Example: methane gas isn't toxic to ingest, but it can explode.
Rotate.
Example: the EU presidency rotates among the members.
Sky. The sky went dark and it started to rain.
Can you see those birds in the sky?
Float. Tom enjoys swimming because he knows how to float. When I mixed my soda with ice cream, the ice cream began to float.
Propel.
The vessel can be propelled by oars or sail. Mechanically propelled vehicles.
Sustain.
Policies aimed at sustaining economic growth. Which planets can sustain life?
Spacecraft.
Example: the spacecraft sent a signal back to Earth.
Star.
Finally, he decided to leave his hometown to start a new life.
You should read the instructions carefully before starting.
Temperature. The temperature today is below 0. I can't stand living in weather of such high temperature.
Robot.
This is the latest in robot technology. Example: in this movie, robots dominate humans.
Flag. I love the colors of my country's flag. The 50 stars on the flag represent the 50 states of the U.S.
Southern accent. She has a southern accent. Southern part. We come from the southern part of town.
Operate. These solar panels can only operate in direct sunlight. Who can operate this machine?
Distance.
Nowadays, people can keep in touch through social networks, regardless of distance.
They still keep in touch with each other despite the long distance.